If you are over the age of 35, stop everything you're doing right now. After a lifetime of eating fatty foods, you may run the risks of a stroke or heart attack due to plaque buildup in your veins and arteries. To learn how you can reduce your risks, visit youthfountainlab.com or call 1-800-853-7856 today. This may be a life-changing call for you or someone you love. Thank you, and we hope to hear from you.
Saving a mafia kingpin's life, Benny thrives in a criminal environment and eventually brings his son into the fold. The son is ambitious like his father and expands the drug operation to farther-reaching areas of New Jersey. Little do they know, there's a powerful force lurking in the corporate and physical world, watching the growth of the Lasbury regime. Grab the House of Lasbury in the description box right now.
Powerful. Indeed. Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about is the vote or die. Now, when we started this platform and we began to talk amongst my cousin and I on our podcast, one of the criticisms that I gave Diddy was, in particular, one of the vote or die. And the reason why was I felt as though a lot of Black hip hop entertainers and entertainers in the Black community around election season use their voice to persuade Black people in the community to vote one side, and that's usually Democrat, with little to no result coming our way. We've seen this throughout the years. Not to ask if Diddy does it, because we'll ask him that if we ever have the honor of talking to him personally. But in your professional opinion, do politicians come down and trickle into the hip hop community and different communities within Black entertainment to get them to speak on their behalf, to get Black people in the community to vote one side?
Okay, you're asking me two questions. Which one do you want me to answer? I hear, do politicians do that? And then you started with your critique of Diddy. So where you want me to go?
You could go on Diddy first if you want. I don't need you to ask if he got paid unless you want to. I'm not asking that question, but that is one criticism that I gave him, and because you work so close, if you want to speak on that, yes, sir, I would love to hear it.
No, Diddy's motives for vote or die was very pure. And if you remember the campaign, that was a nonpartisan campaign. We never ever once said vote Democrat. We never ever once said vote for anybody in particular. It was vote or die. It is that serious. So he was mindful at that time of not using his voice, not using his platform, not using his influence to sway anybody to go in one direction. That I can tell you. And more important, into your point, we did vote or die during the 2004 presidential campaign, the election. And I don't want to speak for him, but for reasons that you speak of, he chose not to do it again. He chose not to keep it ongoing. But because it was such an iconic campaign, people think that this thing lasted for much longer than it did. But it was only for one election cycle. And because, you know, again, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but because he's very, very in tune with his celebrity and how he leverages it, he chose not to do it in the future. So that's going toward him. But I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. As it pertains to regular politicians, they do swoop in during election season. They do swoop in during that election cycle, and they, you know, you'll see them for a couple of months, and they'll make their rounds, and then you don't see them again. But here's the deal, and this is just being honest. You're only one person. And what I mean by that is there's only so many hours in a day. And for a lot of these people, and I'm not in no way, shape, or form, because I have your same criticism, just being transparent. Mm-hmm. But I do know as a businessman, it's only but so you can only be in one place at one time. And when you get elected, you're called to all different kinds of things. Every day your calendar is full. So it's kind of hard to be back in frequenting these areas when your job, when duty is calling day in and day out. Not to give them a way out on excuse, but you know, it is very difficult for them to continue to be inside the hood I'm not saying that they can't, because they're in office for sometimes 4 years, sometimes 2 years, but it's kind of hard to be there every single day when duty is calling.
Appreciate that.
Right, now talk about this. You made a statement talking about DJs for Grammys. Could you break that down, and how you work with DJs and now you have a Grammys for DJs? Can you break that whole thing down for us?
Sure. I made a big part of my career was working with DJs, was working with radio programmers. It was a huge part of what made me me. I became synonymous with DJs and records. And again, I believe in legacy. You can work for a paycheck, you can work for your family, you can work to get rich, but try working for your name, so that when somebody says your name, when you're not in the building, when you leave this earth, what does that name mean? And for me, this is the way I've always thought. Like, how's my name gonna be spoken when I leave the industry? How's my name gonna be spoken when I leave this earth? And I wanted to give something back to this community that had done so much for me. And I looked at the landscape, and this is for anybody who has that entrepreneur mindset. We are always looking for the white space. We're always looking for what doesn't exist. And I was looking and like, yo, damn, artists, they got the Grammys, they got the VMAs, they got the AMAs, they got all kinds of award shows. The actors, they had the Oscars, the Golden Globes, the Emmys, the SAG Awards. It was all kinds of stuff. Even the writers and producers had things like, the BMI Award. Like, everybody had something. And I'm like, yo, the DJs are on the front line of breaking these records. It ain't a record that's released that promotion people all across the country are not calling these same people like, please play my record, break my artist. But they had nothing. And I felt obligated. And I also felt like it was a way to give back to a community that helped me blow up into the person I had become. And I said, let me create the Grammys for the DJs. And we called it the Global Spin Awards. And the Global Spin Awards started with humble beginnings, but it became, one of the biggest industry events out there. It's red carpet, black tie. Some of the biggest DJs and artists on the planet participate year over year. But finally, the DJs have a home. They have a place that when they're out there and they're working and they're hustling and they're doing their part to break records and break artists, now they can be acknowledged for it publicly at a ceremony that means something. And that's what the Global Spin Awards is. And it really came down to me and my legacy and me being an entrepreneur and just seeing the white space and saying, yo, let me create something that doesn't exist.
Speaking on that, how has the DJ evolved since the times of its inception to now? It went so digital, It went from the crates, people grabbing a bunch of fucking crates and bringing them to the set and doing all that and scratching and stuff, to it's sitting here right on here on this MacBook and a Serato or whatever the case may be, pushing buttons. How has it evolved in your opinion? And I'll ask you another question, two-part question. How competitive did you see the DJs getting during them Global Spin Awards?
I answer the first part first. I think you answered your own question. It went from carrying crates, DJs carrying all this heavy equipment, to being on a MacBook and pushing buttons. The skill level, and what I mean by the skill level, I'm talking about that technical skill level of what truly is a DJ. Being able to put wax on a turntable.
If you're over the age of 35 and over the years you've eaten pizza, dairy foods, deli meats, or meats with fat, you are likely to have some degree of plaque buildup in your veins and arteries. This increases your risk of suffering a stroke or heart attack exponentially, and no one wants such a catastrophic event to occur. Introducing Plaque Out. Plaque Out is made of all natural ingredients proven to help dissolve clots in the blood, remove calcium deposits and plaque from the walls of veins and arteries, improve viscosity of the blood, improve elasticity of the veins and arteries, treat varicose veins, and prevent the reoccurrence of plaque buildup. For more information, visit Youth Fountain Laboratory at youthfountainlab.com or call 1-800-853-7855.